Give up who you were to become who you are. Be where you're at, not where you've been. Know where you're going. Do goodness in the dark and watch how beautiful it becomes in the light. One needs not destroy or dissect to understand. One needs only make or create to understand. For am I not? For to be, one must have been. For one who is going to be, one must first be. For one to truly be, one must not be where one has been. Neither must one be where one is going, but one must truly be where one is at. A tree may be beautiful and bear no fruit, for the tree that hath not edible fruit for the palate may indeed have edible fruit for the eye. But one must not think that a tree cannot be beautiful and also bear fruit for both the eye and for the palate, for both have I seen and tasted thereof. You are only as tall as you can climb. The worth of a thing, while a painting such as the Mona Lisa may be worth millions in the eyes of the world, a painting done by a little child is worth more to the mother of that child than a numberless amount of Mona Lisas. May we say that gold, to be real, a real measure of our being in the world, must come from the heart, or it is not gold at all. For gold being malleable, does it not take the shape of those and things it's near? For if gold is near hard things, does gold not say it needs be hard? For hard is righteous. For who says that hard is more correct than soft? Those who went hard, of course, say hard is correct. Yet is hard truly any more correct than soft? Just as the right is no more correct than the left. Is the epitome of defining beautiful words equal to beautiful words that naturally spring forth without need of being defined as such? Does one need only be of the mind, or of the heart, or of the flesh? Can one not be of all three? Without detraction, please God, may be. True gold never found, only given. For pure gold finds you, and gives to those worthy of its presence. The limits of ego and personality. Is there a limit to the number of different personalities which can coexist on a world independent of each other, or egos, if you will, in existence, in totality? Is there a numberless amount of people that can be, or will ever be? What occurs if two egos or personalities are identical? Do the two become one? Do they cooperate? Does one try to destroy the other so there can only be one? Or does it depend on the specific ego or personality? Is a copy of a personality both a copy of identity and memory? To expose those whom are sensitive with that which is not. Is it right to desensitize the pure, innocent, and sensitive? Sooner or later, people will be desensitized, and by not early exposure, is one then setting the innocent up for a much more extreme fall, rather than the gradual steps? Or is not the extreme fall better, for it is over more quickly? The constitution of oneself. One carries the self, not through any object, but through one's name, for none other has one's same name. For the one with the same name merely becomes you. Now a thing can be used to identify a name, however, because it seems that names may identify themselves with things. So if a name carries a thing for long enough, that name may associate itself with that thing, as others may associate it with that thing as well. But truly one is defined by one's self, through one's name, and no thing. For it is the thing one has done while carrying one's name which defines the name. Therefore, the actions one does under one's name defines the self under the name. When one is presented with the philosophies of another, one mainly has three choices. First, to accept the idea full-heartedly, as is. Second, to make alterations of the idea to fit one's own ideas, no matter how big or small. Third, to reject every facet of the idea and in no way, shape, or form see it as truth. Through the night, storms chattered, and upon my early rising, the weather outside seemed calm. I figured that first I would exercise myself in a controlled manner, that way that such things occupy my mind not through the day to come. I then climbed the mountain of stairs that lay before me, wearing a relaxed garb, covering my body if any should behold me. None did, for it was still quite early, and the populace of the household was still occupied with slumber. I gathered some utensils, a bowl, a spoon, and had a nice breakfast consisting of golden grams and whole milk cereal. Stationed nearby on the table was a ceramic bowl of my own craft, filled with the fruits from the previous day's harvest. After doing quite a bit of landscaping on the property, I took it upon myself to find some good fruit representative of each tree and bearing plant on our property. I found some good apples, peaches, plums, blackberries, pears, and grapes, of which I then carefully washed, let air dry, and then finished off with a paper towel before arranging them accordingly to hardness and looks within the large ceramic bowl I spoke of. Well, after finishing off my cereal, I had a peach. It was all right. Then a plum. It was good. And then an apple that I had picked from our green apple tree. I had made sure to pick this one above the others, mainly due to its color and its feel. Though it is a green apple, according to the variety of which it comes, it was almost looking a sort of yellow color, without breaking green. That is to say, the green apple had a golden yellow hue, and oddly enough, it was concentrated on one region of the spherical treat, as if this portion had been sitting in the sun for a time, but just enough time that it was different enough from each other apple on the tree, where it was not shielded, but it had managed to maintain good shape and form, while being exposed to the elements, not hiding behind branches, limbs, or leaves. Yet it had no scars, no pockmarks, as if it had some sort of agreement with the harshness, which can be outside weather at times. And the birds, which often leave open wounds in the fruit not yet fallen, and the bugs and worms, which wreak havoc on the inside of good seed, for which this apple had none, but good sight, and it sure made good sound when I bit into it. If it's too good to be true, is the truth really that good? Are all things good, or is all not good, being then some good and some not good? Or does goodness lie within all things? I remember a portion with tiny little pygmy rattlesnakes, in which one attacked me, and I think Tyrell West was there, and we went to the local hospital, which seemed more like a zoo than a hospital, due to our location in the middle of some foreign jungle. They ended up telling me that due to the size difference between the snake and myself, along with how much it penetrated my skin, not to worry at all. They then were inquiring as to whether or not I had been bitten before, and if so, if this was a common thing, they were going to start me on some sort of immunity program. I told them no, and they gave me a single shot and sent me on my way. I then was transported to an odd time, a mixture of medieval times with Pokemon cards. I remember Sean Pickett, and also some guy from wrestling who I think married Maze Richardson. Well, anyway, we were storming a castle and collecting Pokemon cards along the way, and whenever you came across a foe, instead of having a sword fight, you had a battle with Pokemon cards. I remember crossing some sort of bridge thing, and while I was crossing it, the kid, Brady Wilcox, tore the bridge, and I fell, hardly, then arose. It was morning. Daily thoughts. In a free world, will you find yourself paying more than just money? Can truth even be found in a lie? For a false story still holds values, principles, symbols, ethics, morals, which hold true out of the lie. I now find myself in a climbing club, welcomed by some old friends, the grassroots Shane Bryson, and the icy Shad. Those two probably know this place. I am now in far better than anyone else I see and hear at the moment. This place is a little odd if you sit down and take the time to really think about it. It's like the human being is born and for a time it is carried, and then once it grows old to those who carry it, it must then need learn to support its own being. For then it begins to crawl and starts the climb of the specific game it was born into. Or did it choose? Anyhow, after crawling, it begins to grow tall and separates its head further from the ground, for it then learns to walk on two legs, instead of creeping on all fours. Well, in this place, people who have grown far from the ground find themselves here paying a price to again crawl on all fours, yet in a disguised manner, where the wall in which they climb is an inverted play on the ground in which they once sought separation from. And now they find themselves paying to once again be on all fours, yet in a way that fools themselves into believing that they haven't fallen, that they are still upright. Solving created problems. September 19th, 2016. So my scheduled date with Michaela Gunn didn't happen. We had a date planned for this last Sunday, but she didn't answer or return my calls. So I ended up going and playing tennis by myself. It seemed very odd, for when I first asked her out, she seemed very enthusiastic about the whole thing. Oh well, the fact that she ditched me led to an alternative opportunity. General thoughts on fear. Fear itself actually seems to be a fairly decent guiding light. Accepting the field of growth, for which it is quite the hindrance. That being said, personally, I like to follow my own guidelines, outlined in concern to the rational irrationality, risk, and safety. Fear probably presents itself more so in a form of avoiding stupidity in my system, rather than sheer terror, and running from a thing or motivated out of a possible scare. So, the beauteous concoction that I had prepared burst forth today, and that which I had done, not to be for waste, I took part in the consumption thereof. It definitely was what I had made it, and that which I had not only set forth for it to be, but advertised it was, and just the right amount as well. The only thing I had wished for is someone to experience it with. Yet as I partook, in the time it needed be, there was none, so I did alone. Okay, well then prepare to be entertained. I find myself now in a state which could dispel all that which is, and portray all that which was. For why does one listen, such as yourself? But that which one listens to is of value to the ears of those being told. But what are ears? A device of time? Good God, all that which is right may rhyme. For your ears are your years, with the Y placed in front. It seems now fitting for me to be blunt. For you to hear, you must have had years. For to truly hear, you must understand that which is being heard, or you hear nothing. Therefore, age is a requirement for you to recognize sound, that it be sound, which is stable, and not that which is not, that you then gain perspective, and in this gain a lot. If the age then be good, then golden it is. For what is gold but that which is old, with a G placed in front, signifying good age, which is years, gives then ears? For experience is had, and all that was told, be it good, be it bad, has its place in your heart, where all good things start. 9/24/2016. I haven't been able to get hold of a lot of my friends from the past, recently by conventional means, and I guess I can only just hope the best for them, and just hope that it means they actually have a life, that they are quite involved in. I just might not be a part of it for the time being. The other thing is this, I just don't know what to do anymore. I mean, I feel like every bridge that would have led me to success has been burned down, and by none other than myself, in the hopes that I fall not into some trap that the future success would have provided. In this, I feel like I have done so much work, but have nothing to show for it, and still have to work to somehow dig myself out of some hole I don't even know how I got into. October 4th, 2016, at Weber State University, creatively writing on the engineer at 11:23 a.m. The engine, an innermost sanctum within a machine, giving strength to its limbs. Though it gives power, what powers it? What motivates it? This is its fuel, whether it be of a sort of consumption or a feeling that it chases. To then harness the engine, the mechanic must know its desires, that it catch not the tail it pursues, for it will stop, that it not be filled too full that it burst, yet knowing when and how to halt it, without bleeding it of its driving force. Once these factors are known, the engine may be named and manifest itself as the engineer. October 4th, 2016, Lucky Slice Pizza, creatively writing, on the nose. A nose for what? I've heard he's got a good nose for business. Yet someone who knows too much may find their nose running, as they find themselves tripping over it, as they try to move forward. They left too much and need to write more than think. For now the business has become unpleasant noise, causing harm to their ears. For their nose has grown long, and they know too much, and they are tripping over their own nose and their own noise. Fatal attraction towards our own killers, a bypass of the heart, and the roads leading to it, for love has become a blockade of movement, trapped by a possessive entity in an almost autoimmune fashion, to then bypass the troubled X, for it is a sticky mess full of sewers wishing to force their way within you. How to then move? You are stuck in a loop. You can do it. Just take care not to break your back, causing a spin-off of the original history leading to a possible death. For if much changed at once, and you are no more what you once were, build an overpass. You've got to learn how to fly, either that or dig deep and go under. Difficult to do and still get where you want, or once were. What the fuck, dude? Being known for something, meaning you have made a name for yourself. Known and used by the common tongue, for a noun, known itself as a person, place, or thing, is found in many a sentence. So what are you known for? Being made a noun for. 10/5/2016, the sky. To the sky, what's the sky? What gives light to the sun? For a word to one has meaning to the one, and all the one's followers depicted by his we and us. The house of cards he stands upon, a fragile matter in Babylon. To write, wait, write. What's right? That it can be read correctly. Yet writing correctly takes time, patience, stability. Watch out for the rush, in which case you'll need a fast talker that won't lead things to a crash, in an overuse of words, or that words seen and spoken clash not with each other, or with themselves. The dragon ever longer continued her journey, and she had grown long, not only in age but length as well, for on the horizon she could always see an object, but could never catch it, for it seemed to move as fast as she. One day she arose, and the object was before her. She opened up and chomped down, then let out a yelp. She'd bitten her own tail. The violin. What's vile but wretched, scum, gross, nasty, filthy, disgusting. The violin mocks the gross behaviors, and magnifies that all beings have them, and are succumbed to endure them. However, the violin takes that concept, that we are all shackled to produce such gross products, and converts that concept into a product worth letting in. The quality of the violin player, and their violin, can be gauged by how well they can mask the vile, from whence it came to what it is. October 9th, 2016. Didn't really dream too much this last night. I slept fairly decent, excepting portions where I hovered between too hot or too cold. Anywho, as I write, my dream comes back to me. At first it seems I was at some fancy house party that had diving boards way too high for the shallow pool below. It then redirected itself to be like a pirate dream, where different factions of pirates had like meetings on the nearby beach about what to do and what not to do. It was quite the deserty beach, and some groups of pirates really didn't get along well with some others. On the philosophy. How does it feel, following feeling rather than knowledge, letting it guide your actions and direct your motives, similar to the writer following the right, for he sees not but through his pen, and in some cases, following the penicillin, for such is good, and such is God, blinding some to the actions that others would see as obscene, yet in this perspective is key in judgment, for how they saw it determines what was really going on. 10:11:16. On the philosophy. Is doing what feels right always what's right? For I can write, but in writing, do I write what's right? Such is philosophy. For some say no pain, no gain. Yet I know some pain which causes loss, rather than reward. So not all pain is forwarding toward good growth. Such is philosophy. For I can reject understanding and follow instinct. But at what point does instinct lead me away from virtue and into corruption? Such is philosophy. Why do I act on certain feelings and certain thoughts and cut others from the act itself, no longer being in play, no longer part of the scene, a word not heard? Such is philosophy. Do I have good reason? For no reason. And in making nonsense, do I then make sense? Such is philosophy. However I feel it, when does a good feeling turn bad? Or was it always one or the other? Such is philosophy. Should I disregard the feeling and seek wisdom, seek knowledge, and in doing so become a philosopher? Yet when does knowledge and when does philosophy begin to take away from true feeling? Such is philosophy. O God, what is God? And does God reside? And if so, where? Such is philosophy. Cursed wisdom, cursed knowledge. I am now in this plane of perpetual limbo, knowing all, but in knowledge of everything I feel nothing. Yet I know nothing, and in knowing nothing I see everything. Such is philosophy. Am I fat beyond my own sight of fitness? Should I prophesy or get a job and make money? I see how it is, so I shouldn't. Yet it holds me. I am indebted to it. Such is philosophy. In the end, all I know is that it'll all be all right. Such is philosophy. On the races. What is a race, other than a competition in which one tries to get to a certain goal before another? Yet what is this goal? What are the conditions? Such are the factors which determine the race in question. And by knowing the race in question, one can gauge the ones who would be running it. Do those who run the race carry qualities showcasing desired attributes towards accomplishing the goal of the race? Possibly so. If they are a contender, do they run just one type of race? Is running multiple races a race in itself? Such is ethnicity. 10:12:16. On the electric. What is it to elect but to vote, to gather submissions in regards to a certain question, in pursuit of an answer? What is a city but a locked-in, border-defined location, stating that you are either within or without its walls? Who is it that was elected to channel the city's energy, and in this, the city's own electricity? The one given the right to write, the privilege to either stay their hand or to execute the order at hand, or to come up with the order in the first place. A powerful force if properly routed, with resistors in place, for it took humility to gain power. It's easy to tell where an individual is truly at. Merely look at their eyes to deduce whether they are here or not. Word expression. On the vandal. To detract from that which once a thing was, its image rearranged, on the verge of destruction, yet not quite so much. For if the thing being vandalized itself is destroyed, the new arrangement thereupon, the structure, will not serve its purpose of display, to then humiliate the thing being vandalized, so that the will of the vandal, the perpetrator, may be known then on, and henceforth to those that witness the decimated object, that the message of the vandal may get through to the public. Food for thought. Starve yourself of one pleasantry, and another will fill its place. as it becomes present. For I have tasted salt, but then abstained from it. I then heard salt, it became a sound, which was ever so grand, played by a love on a saltier. Food for thought becomes merely a profound ideal that energizes the soul. Visual nourishment presents then itself through wondrous aspects of sight. Audible enlightenment can spark pathways previously unknown as cords are struck and nerves plucked. We all eat, but how you eat is up to you. May you enjoy your way, finding a pleasant and comfortable perspective. It's amazing how simply getting dressed for the day can wake you up and give you a sense of wakefulness, as much as many a stimulant. It's like, well, I dress important, so I have important things that need to get done. Important people to see, important places to go, important things to do. On godliness, to then be godly is to then be good, is to then seek good things, is to usher forth no evil from thine character by any action. You are a light in the darkness, but do not seek the darkness. You are a light in the light, yet boast not of your lightness. You are a filter for goodness, yet seeking not after trash for filtration. If it comes along, you filter it, seeking not after justice, but accepting things as they are. For you are just, and this is your fairness, a creator of worthy and peculiar puzzles, a problem solver but never creator, remaining consistent and constant during both highs and lows, a silent verb, a smooth noun, in the end, quite ordinary. 5/1/2016. Blessings be upon thine soul, for the light shone upon me, waking me this day. The night was good and the rest was received well. This day will most likely be one of continued rest, possibly further organization and acquisition of goods for present and future present usage. On the foreigner. To be someone who reigns means to be someone who rules. The word itself is derived commonly from whence it was frequent, to find horse and carriage, and the one who held the reins was in control, so to speak. Now on the foe portion. Now to then be somebody's foe, more commonly found as the termination foe, is to be an enemy, a nemesis, an opposing factor to the one in question. So then, a foreigner is an opposing factor to you and your will, wandering into your land where you have had consistently lengthy control. For you to have a foreigner, you must be a reigner of some sort. How to build a tree. May 10th, 2016. A Tuesday. It all begins with the word, in this case, the root word, the beginning of many to come. Yet for these things to then grow, they must hold on to that which they originally were, and not mask themselves under a guise of another, lest that which they are does not grow and receive nourishment. It all begins with the root word, and from there, divisions occur, and in these divisions comes separation, and differing branches of extension from the same root can be had, growth, and if the tree be good, fruitful reproduction. The aurora borealis, beginning with an a sharp point, two beams coming together, solidifying and strengthening each other, keeping the other straight and on course, connected then by the third eye, which allows perspective and measurement of the circle, allowing the most pure circles to be drawn, while still maintaining a straight line. A triumvirate of sorts. The strength of the A is dependent upon the values which the three lines represent, each knowing when to stop, keeping each other in line. Then comes the U, siding the other, yet solidifying exactly what the other is, allowing others to be, and speaking to them in general. A soft R follows, seeking love, siding pain, hurt. A circle then felt, not being measured. Again, another R presents itself, siding futility, wickedness. Then aurora ends where it began, siding yet again the sharpest point, which can cut through all things. Yet to even speak the A, one must open up, allowing things in, especially when followed immediately by the U, allowing all things in. Yet in this case, it is followed by a B. The B, a full closure, yet a closure that extends itself outward, followed by another circle felt, giving into a soft R, a platonic comfort, flirting with sin, yet not crossing the threshold. The E comes, signifying a meeting point of ingestion, internalization, allowing then outward expansion and growth of what was let in. The A follows, expressing higher ideals. Then comes the I, a singular line, standing alone. Its ability to succeed depends upon the caster, and his ability to continue, though he be the only one, keeping himself in line, being his own certification. Can you keep it straight, even if no one is with you? Is what will determine its ability to stand upright. In the end of it all, the aurora boreal is a light show, one coming from the ice in a frozen wasteland of pure crystal, expressing many colors in a marvelous order that can continue seemingly forever ever longer, yet in its expression never feels like it's simply dragging on, keeping us ever alert in our peaceful awe. Five 14:16, 6:12 p.m. I found myself seduced by evil, yet the evil offered shelter from the light. As it began to bind me with its chains of labor unceasing, I fell, yet in the fall was freedom. Then a great evil arose, in the form of a suffocating well of tar. I sought the light once more, yet my face and its history was hidden. Would I be welcomed? I found myself in a strange land, though they offered shelter for my soul. They offered a cleansing of my sin, yet also demanded a cleansing of my history, good and bad. I found myself in a battle once more, and this light was strong. I needed summon darkness once more, and dark Templars were raised to wage war on my behalf. I skillfully commanded them, yet the price is a mark on my soul. And as I left the land of my saviors, turned captors, I found my way back home. Yet it had changed, and so had I. I found myself in a battle to prove it was me, and to once again become accepted, fighting against rejection, against expulsion, and working towards removing the sticky glue which had stained my face and my hair. I found the solution and removed the tar. Proper ratio of building more history, while presenting an aspect of stability. That was an unchangingly recognizable image of trust and fortitude, being stoic, along with consistently normal, whatever that is. I then came across the solution to remove the gunk I had accumulated. Steady and full body steaming, careful not to ruin the good I wore, that created an environment that pure light could not witness, mingled with fine oils meant to strip only the bad from my body, which in the end it worked. The steam allowed cleansing of good dirty, yet it did not harm good good, while the fine oils intermingled within, attracted and removed the blackness from within and without, as I dry cleaned, so the bad dirty was stripped. Yet as it was, I heard it cry out for me, for I had been its savior, and had harbored it from its own demons. Finally it said, "Erase me," so I did, it knowing the harm it was causing upon my soul, and the new light I found myself within. Then I felt part of me die, and the portion which sought to have dominion over others by harboring pure terror through true experience, clasped a hold and would not let go, telling me I could have the women with what I have been through. Yet I see them now only as chains, just like the hard experiences one must go through to make them and to gain them. So I must now cast them aside, fully knowing that I cast away my opportunity to use my hardness to gain them. Yet I do believe it is the path I must take for me to ascend. So I do it, and then those who helped strip away the darkness eat at my heart, for they proclaim love to me, and I feel them attacking my heart, the very fine oils I used to rid myself of the terror and destruction that demolished my enemies, was now feasting upon my soul in a new manner. They had my heart in their clutches. They came through the trees I commanded, through the space that I travel. Now I must lose them and myself once more. April 28, 2016. I'm gonna tan your hide. This entry will be an in-depth explanation of the above said common term. I'm gonna tan your hide. It is a general expression used from one individual towards another, which insinuates that the one expressing it is going to inflict pain and domination towards the one in referral. That being said, it is a very specific type of pain, and not one that would be ordinarily spoken of as a thing which inflicts pain. The type of pain in question is one caused by an exposure to light, more specifically, the eyes of the world and beyond. The domination is a direct event of causing the one in darkness to either seek the light or to be unawareingly exposed to its rays. The amount of pain and level of pain is in direct ratio to the type of hide the one in exposure has undergone, the length, etc., and the amount of light, type of light exposed to. Just enough of each, and beautiful leather is made. May 3rd, 2016, a Tuesday. Dream during a nap. So I remember going to some sort of job interview, and for some reason E.G. King Elementary was involved. The interview itself had about 5 candidates, including myself. I recall a majority of the persons present were wearing rollerblades for whatever reason. I know not. Maybe they were going to be used on the job. So the job interview proceeded, and the 2 new employees were chosen and hired by the company representative present. One of the new employees then stood up and gave a little speech as to his own surprise and his thanks toward the hiring personnel. The new employee giving the speech said then this quote, "As soon as I walked into the interview, I looked into the eyes of the other people who were here and had applied, and I was certain that I was going to get this job. The eyes they had were also rare." One of the people he was speaking of spoke then themselves. So now one of the people with the rare eyes was speaking in response to the speech just told by one of the new hirees. The person then stated, quote, "Why then do you think they are such rare eyes?" I then was awoken from the dream and contemplated the question myself. The person with the rare and possibly unique set of eyes was insinuating that the reason they are such rare eyes is because they are not very successful, at least in the environment and situation the person who had the rare eyes was in at that moment. If they were successful, then everyone would have them. They would be common and not rare. I was one of the ones with the rare eyes. So in conclusion, that was the most recent vision that I had while in slumber. It was quite vivid and had good feeling. The part that I remember the most, and was the most fun, was the rollerblading. I was really good at it, and the ground for it was good. It seems to me that 2 poles exist for things to become rare, and or unique, and stay and maintain their rarity. The first is that they are very undesirable by anyone in the world, and beyond. In this they have become unique and rare, for not a single soul desires them, and it is then unlikely for more of them to become and remain. The other pole for things to acquire such status is that they have amazing self-defense skills and have many well-hidden trade secrets. They are both unique and successful because no other entity can copy them successfully. Yet then, they must limit their own exposure that they lose not their uniqueness. On the cells, a defined space with set parameters giving the cell its action. Specific genre, precise courses, absolute action, types of study. These are what depict the cell, and in its depiction is its determination, then giving the type of cell. A body has many types of cells, and a body deficient in a certain type of cell is deficient of the action associated with the type, giving the cell and body its type. Types of bodies are then seen, with the majority of cell type giving then body type. On boxing, August 22nd, 2016, general thoughts. The box, or otherwise known as the square. Then why is it that boxing takes place within a ring, which is a circle? I'll tell you why. A ring is a sort of calling card that determines location. And the one who answers and calls in regards to a specific ring takes claim and ownership of the ring in question, residing within and presiding over its space. having then ownership thereof. Then therefore to box another, who finds whereabouts within the ring you also find yourself in, with the intent to knock them out, that you may take then therefore ownership thereof, answering to and for the specific ring in question. The box is the line, determining your time within the ring, and straightening it out. So that during that time which is the line that was your ring, this of course requires that there be rings that are of course desirable, requiring then therefore that there be rings of less desirability. The best boxers see the line, enforce it while within the ring, utilizing the box, making their ring a circle, then eternally claiming said ring as their own. A ring then therefore like a name, only those that embody the spirit and meaning of the name itself will be able to support and appreciate its weight. Some then therefore not even being boxed for. The problem with being at the front is that when you are in the front of the screen, you do not see, for the movie is before you in waking life. Then therefore we are at the same dilemma as those whom have worked and sacrificed for a different vision, as has been lightly touched upon recently, for the later generations to come. Yet a sacrifice of the generation that was is the cost. For those that wish not to proceed are left behind, for those that wish others to stay, utilizing the heel, living at the peak of times, then therefore in all times, enforcing time zones, that time is, whatever, enough. As I began my journey for the day, my original intention slingshotted me onto an old endeavor previously escaping my grasp. I drove down the causeway, where a mirage seemed to lead the way. The road continued its distance, further than what the eye could perceive, as if melding into the background beyond, shimmering and glinting with a sort of reflection that would make you think water was present just beyond the horizon. The sun was beaming, with not a cloud to block its rays, placing the mind with the feeling that sand dunes may appear, and an urgency and understanding for the value that is fresh water. Though dunes of sand appeared not, gentle mountains began to show themselves, humble giants overlooking the great expanse, surrounded by a seemingly endless moat deterring any would-be unwanted visitors, who were ill-equipped for the most hostile of environments. A few people now presenting themselves brave enough to weather the elements at hand, and the dry heat, being without shade of any sort, excepting very small creatures, able to find comfort under the cool of some brush, perhaps. I gather myself and prepare to embark on the quest not previously done, accompanied by none except for some light spectation by some seemingly random tourists. I then make the change into my gear, vacate my bowels, gather all supplies thought necessary, and begin my descent to the beachscape below. I pass a family on the way down, taking photographs from a distance, not daring or unwilling to proceed any further. Then they were. Perhaps next time they will find the courage to venture into the deep. I put them out of my mind as I continued onward, the landscape ever changing as I moved forward, downward. Road gave way to trail. Trail gave way to rocky brush. Rocky brush gave way to crystallized crust. Crystallized crust gave way to very, very salty water. The water was quite nice of temperature, surprisingly, and as I then pushed fear back, wondered why I was the only one here. In fact, this was quite nice. Where was everybody? Little do they know they have a miraculous oceanic-like reserve right in their backyards, with plenty of space on the beach, pleasant water, and I was the only one in the water. I ventured out further, looking back to see how far I was from dry land. Quite a ways. Best not to go out much further when I am the only one out here, I thought. Then I submerged myself, opening my eyes in the murky depths. Visibility, 0. Coming back up with some salt fresh on my lips. A few sea-type birds fly above me in the distance, again, astonished with how nice this all feels. I begin to lose all fear, and am now merely in enjoyment. I walk a little further, and then stop as some footing gives way. I ease myself out of the swampy recess, and decide I push this whole endeavor far enough. Lying on my belly, I use my hands against the lake's floor to quickly vacate myself from the waters, floating quite easily, and loving every minute of it. The water, the sunshine, wishing other people were present, but glad there wasn't. Drying myself off, I made sure to take samples of what was the lightest, finest beach sand to grace the inside of a used bottle. I began my way back home. On the way up, the people that were once present replaced now by roaming bison, hulking beasts, feeding on the impossible pickleweed, brush, and wild grasses. I changed back into my social garb and headed back across the causeway. "Where have you been?" is what wasn't asked. Perhaps less care about my whereabouts and doings than was thought. So I told, "Hey, I just smothered the day with excellency. What did you do?" Then they inquire, and what do I say? Well, I merely spread the word of the joy that is to be beyond the way, that others purport of in faraway lands, yet it is right here, and they say, "Oh, maybe we'll try it." Glad that I could be the guinea pig, opening up the fun avenue for anyone, afraid of being first and not knowing what was in store. My adventure to Antelope Island, swimming in the Great Salt Lake. It seems that, like with most things, taking a concept to the utmost extreme of its capabilities almost renders it futile, non-functional, and meaningless, as it obliterates the original thought idea into a manifestation that no longer mirrors the original intention. September 7th, 2016, entitled Homebrew. A very dirty martini. Get some vodka. Have on hand a martini glass with a sugar-encrusted rim and some sweetened condensed milk. Then, either some figs or dates to garnish your drink with. Fill the glass with the vodka and then with the spoon, scoop out a good serving of sweetened condensed milk and stir your drink until the caramelized milk has dissolved completely in the drink. Garnish with the items mentioned above and enjoy your very, and I mean very, dirty martini. Armor. The types of armor an individual can wear seems to be broken down into multiple categories, which I will now attempt to do. Functional armor. This armor runs and operates purely on the knowledge and understanding of the elements and their respective mechanics. Symbolic armor. This armor serves as symbols or images which are displayed, which carry a meaning. Behind the meaning of the symbol, gaining entry into others' eyes, is the function and defense. These symbols may be either images or words. Truly, though, if the meaning is unknown to the attacker, does the symbol then therefore carry any defense? The fighter, enclosed in a space, rules enforced, air heavy, face the demon or run. To run is the only way to face further demons, the demons of your peers, so stay enclosed, face the demon. Clock ticking, don't look at the clock. To look at the clock is to be defeated. Let the opponent worry about the clock, about the time. The only time you know, the only time you feel, is that of your own heart. Let your opponent look at the clock. Look beyond time. Once you see them look at the clock, make your move. They are weak. They want the fight to be over. Take your shot. They will fall. July 4th, 2015. Today I arose, I cleansed myself. I got ready for the day. I went on a little walk by myself around in the woods to do a little exploring. We then gathered around the table and had breakfast. My father, my mother, my aunt, and my uncle from my mother's side, and my brother. After breakfast, we went on a long motorcycle ride. We rode through a few deep creeks, well, not too deep, a foot at the most, and up a pretty few steep hills. There were a couple winding uphill switchbacks that were really fun because you went almost sideways, using the momentum you had to keep going. It was fun. We then got back to the cabin, and then we went on another motorcycle drive to the top of a mountain, in which the view was spectacular. You could see many mountains in the distance, snow-capped, some still. The party ended up getting separated, and I rode by myself mostly back to the cabin. When we all got back to the cabin, we took off our motorcycle gear and had a few snacks. Well, we ate dinner and watched the movie Up, and a Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman Wild West show, and a Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman boxing movie called $1 Million Baby. This will be the first 4th of July I can recall that I didn't hear, see, or light off a firework. Kind of like Christmas in the Caribbean. Gunnison has a fireworks show, but everyone was too tired. The hike trail that we went on follows the stream up the canyon to the waterfall. Once at the waterfall, which is where the majority of people stop, unless you have rock climbing skills, to either scale up the crack crevice to the left or the right. If you scale up to the left, you can intersect with the trail, which leads you to one of the highest peaks visible to the eye from the valley floor. We spent a long time at the waterfall, and Kendall told Juliana that if she got under the waterfall, he would buy her a new pair of athletic shoes. So Kendall and her got under the falls, and I guess we will see what happens concerning the shoe thing. Rocky seemed to have a blast, and the people on the mountain were glad to interact with him. I will give you life. I will rock your boat, cast thunder from above, rip away all that you have, take you to an inch within death from your own eyes. I will make it all so real. You will feel fear. You will know pain. You will know sorrow. You will know loss, even unto the loss through death. It will be, and it will most certainly be for you. For I have made it so. You will see much. You will smell much. You will hear much. You will taste much. And you will feel much. So much so that it will be all you know. It is soon real. The great play, the great game becomes no longer as such. Things do hurt. Scars show. Loss is felt deep, and darkness does come. And you see it not only coming for you, but for anything and everything you love. You fight because it is no longer a game to you. You see it as not. Each thing separate from you fights as well. For what has become for you has become for all. I take you to within an inch of death. Then I will redeem you, give you back all you had. In the eve, cools off, hard work done, laughter there, birds chirp here, breeze passes by, shaded from the sun, spectacular trees, radiant, true, mellow amber rays, dinner time, conversation abounds, surrounded by those you love, beautiful eve. The mood is warm, you find comfort upon whatever surface you're upon, whether it be hard or it be soft, it suits you, and you suit it. Precious eve. This feeling, this relaxation, encompasses you. It's as if you were being squeezed, restricted by dozens of pillows, unable to move, but unwanting to move. For it isn't a restriction, but a warm hug, a hug of light, of love. Oh, the humanity. There seems to be some that claim to err is to be human, and in this is feudalism toward action of what is man. For it is through grace that we are saved. If when we do err, yet man himself does have the ability to err not. There are plenty of examples of persons who claimed no more than what they were, which was simply a man, and guess what? They have done some pretty miraculous things that could, can, and should be called perfect through a miraculous melding of intellect and heart, in combination of utilization of the capacities with which man has to work with. To then err is to be human. So then were these humans whom did not err something more, for they speak as of themselves as merely men. Then are those whom preach err in a fallen state, where they feel it futile to achieve and work towards perfection? Or do they simply preach of error as means of escaping from following rules, standards, principles? For in due time by time become, for whence was earth, where earth came from. For earth came from what from was from, and earth laid still both deaf and dumb, and add a spark of life to earth, and then became a new rebirth, both heavens high and seas below. I search my heart both to and fro. The one who added life to earth, and can then claim its new rebirth, brought me from there the depths below. to bring in light and then to show the joy to life it is to be, and not to ponder what is me. The man, backwards man, always in the know where he has been and what has been done, but never knowing truly where he is or where he is going. An expert on history. History is his defense, citing all experiences he finds himself in or hypothesized about, with events which have already occurred. Present man. Always knows where he is, but never where he has been or where he is going. So intently focused on what is currently happening. What can he see, smell, taste, do, and feel at this exact moment? While others are off in space, present man is nowhere but where he is. Future man thinks aloud and to himself always about what could be, where each road leads, the final destination, neither concerned with what has occurred or what is going on, yet always projected onto where he is going, what is happening next, life in the beyond, what is to come, for in his mind only forward is progress. On 3/24/15, I scored 393,750 points playing Super Mario Bros. On May 10th, 2016, I scored 1,004,700 points playing Super Mario The Lost Levels. Tick-tock, the grandfather clock. Wind me up, sir, please, and keep the time, I will indeed. A quick chime here, a small song there, is all I need to fill the air, with proper time for you to hear, and then on time you will be there. High-strung walls, a tower strong, hand-strewn wood, a tree far gone. Mechanics work inside of me, and they give me the sight to see, so that I may give you the sight, and separate each day from night. A second here, an hour there. A full bright moon may give a scare, yet scary not am I, you see, for gentle is my nature be, built to keep the time I was, and no one better there ever was. For I will be so high, you see, yet stand on floor with feet, 4 to be exactly. I sing a song and sing it well, may you enjoy the time I tell, and never hurry to catch the time, enjoy each second, just like my rhyme. Who's got the biggest balls of them all? He's got big balls, that's why he falls, chasing that tail can sure make one fail. So now you see, big balls not for me. What ladies in sight give me a good fright. For girls they merely cause a distraction, you see. From my goal that's in sight, yet I have great might. Conquer big balls and damsels alike, for none can compete with my balls. You can't see, for they are so small and clever. Hee hee. The Little Cup of Joe. Joe was a little cup, nowhere near the size of his older brother Coffee Cup. Yet for some reason, Joe felt that for this reason he was liked. One day, Little Cup of Joe was foraging the china cabinet and stumbled across something he had never before seen. A teacup so beautifully crafted, he nearly spilled on the spot. To be continued. Little Cup of Joe suddenly felt so embarrassed, facing such rare, dainty beauty. On top of it all, he had forgotten at that moment whether or not he had dusted himself off that morning. He sure hoped so, but he couldn't check at the moment because the lady teacup was staring directly at him. He went to open his mouth, but nothing came out. It was as if at this moment Joe had entirely forgotten how to speak. The lady giggled and went on the way with a few other finer pieces of pottery. Joe watched as they passed by, suddenly noticing that he had come to blush, and the hot morning drink within his basin began to boil with embarrassment. Well, that's one way to get the drink hot, he thought to himself, but he much rather preferred to be filled with the boiling water from the tea kettle or a sink, to be microwaved or heated directly on a stove or fire, anything other than this. To be continued. A Good Night's Poem. I began the day slowly digging myself out of the hole which was my previous night's slumber, blinking my eyes to bring back the lubricant for their rotation, stretching my body and its limbs so that I might once again be mobile, dragging my dead zombie weight up to the kitchen to search for a morsel to end my fast, which was death, my slumber of rest. But what shall bring life back to me this fine morning? Which shall be first to nourish my buds with flavor and give life to my once dead cells? I eat. I awaken my body. I can choose to be warmed up or warm myself up with physical exertion. Either way, I better dress to impress if I plan on getting out today. Well, I'm awake, getting things done. Actually, getting lots of things done. This is great, and I'm having fun. But wait, the sun, it seems it is now tired. Do I have to go to sleep? Do I have to die once more? Can't I stay up? Not if I want to have a good day tomorrow. Good night. Saturday, October 17th, 2015. Hallows Eve is coming soon. Upon its night, release your doom. A good name. Friday, October 23rd, 2015. A good name has a beginning, to which no letter and no word can come before the name, be added to the name, without disrupting the name itself. In this is protection in the beginning. A good name has fluidity in its inherent sound and pronunciation. From beginning to and through to the end. A good name then has an end, which then replicates the function of a good beginning. No letter or word, compound or conjunction can be added to the end without disrupting the whole name. In this is cohesiveness. October 27th, 2015, a Tuesday. A successful deer roast. This morning, I prepared today's dinner early in the light. I harvested potatoes, cabbage, Swiss chard, habanero peppers, banana peppers, ghost pepper leaves, pumpkin from the property, of course. I cut up, de-seeded, and de-stemmed the produce, and neatly arranged it within a crock pot. To this I then added garlic cloves, carrots, venison roast. I then added some Western Family sweet cream butter, some water, some salt, and some seasonal. I began this endeavor very bright and early in the morning, and I cooked the meal on low heat for 10 hours continuously, without interruption. This is a pretty damn good meal. It is kind of funny how non-realistic or imaginary things can exist in reality, for made-up things do in fact exist in existence, do they not? There ain't no need. There just ain't no need to ask if I'm good, 'cause from brother to brother you know you should. Think of true light, your actions incite my own well-being, an effect of your current plight. I'm always good at 100%. Do you believe I can conquer regret? Better yet, do you believe that I'm always good? For if you don't, you know you should. For in your belief that I'm always good, I'm always good. I have never cried out of fear. It seems to me the only time I've ever even shed a tear was from a loss of a friend, a family, the ones close to me, what I call dear. Torn asunder, stripped right through me, heart now shattered, broken, scattered. Taken, stolen, anger swells, dormant thunder, lightning dwells. To find the one who took my friend, so I may bring them back again. You better hope, you better hide, that I don't find my friend inside the place it is that you call home, or you will know forever roam. For wrath, revenge, my terror rages, and open up a bet, I bet all wages. Once you see a speck, a glimpse, a flicker of what I've done, the game is over, no more fun. For I will bring my friend back again, resurrect my stolen kin. Unless it is that you left me, then know that I am so sorry. I will let you be. The thing I did, ignorant was me. Corrections will I now make due, and forever sorry I am towards you. So now you see, protect good things I do, and if you wish to leave me, please do. Yet know that I will forever miss you. The differences and similarities between luck and miracles. Every miracle is lucky, but not everything lucky that occurs is a miracle. Both luck and miracles are defined by statistical anomalies with favorable outcomes to the one experiencing the luck or the miracle. Miracles are most appropriately described as being associated with life or death situations. Lucky occurrences can be most appropriately associated with truly any statistical anomaly with favorable outcome to the one experiencing luck. All things unique are rare, yet not all things rare are unique. Both things that are rare and unique are defined as being statistical anomalies, with the highest chance possible of not being found, yet with enough chance to be actually possibly found. While things that are defined as being rare may still have multiple copies in existence, coexisting on the same plane, while still having to be outnumbered statistically and numerically by either normal and or unwanted things. Unique things can only have one in existence for them to be unique. As soon as another coexisting is discovered, it will cease to be unique and is rare. Rare things can become normal if they fall into a statistical average, such as unique, rare, and normal. That which is of the mind can give that which is of the heart place to go, as that which is of the heart can give that which is of the mind place to go. They do the tango, and it takes two to tango, I might add. December 1st, 2015, a Tuesday. We arose early in the morn before the sun and loaded up our gear into the vehicle, plunging into the crisp air outside. Darkness and reflection of a snow-covered landscape surrounded us. When we arrived on the mountain, the sun was beginning to show itself, and the sky was perfectly clear. The peaks, valleys, and trees, shrubs of the scene were laden with snow. I witnessed a rabbit pouncing across the land, and when we scaped the area for a while, looking for sign of elk, and found none, we knew it was time to move on. We had heard from Curtis and Branson that a large group of elk had been sighted on another mountain slope in the distance. So we, being my dad, my grandpa, and my cousin Derek, headed that way. We stayed in this area for a large portion of the day. We heard tales of moose, buck deer, and bull and cow elk. Binoculars and spotting equipment were heavily utilized, and a plan was formed. Portions of the group began heading up the mountain, climbing the spine, the ravines, following game trail or blazing a trail. The hunt was on, and the group was confident. We heard tell from Curtis, Branson, and myself that a couple cow elk had been shot, and while Curtis rested, Branson and I began up the mountain with the sled to load up the elk. We spread out to cover our viewing area, and along the way I stumbled across a really nice crystal clear, free-flowing freshwater Iron Mountain spring. The area looked healthy and the water good. Good fauna in the flow. Well, after the arduous trek to the top was over, to the peak of the mountain, where it plateaued out, Branson and myself began looking for the fallen cow elk. We saw 3 healthy-looking deer, possibly a doe deer with 2 fawns, and an enormous wild snow rabbit. We didn't, however, find the elk. As Branson and myself headed back down the mountain carrying sled, mountain survival gear, hunting equipment, etc., we came across Curtis, who was on his way back up. And the 2 of us joined him to make a group of 3. As we climbed into a more southerly direction, the sun began to fade, and we knew we were losing our light. At the peak plateau, however, we spotted clearly 1 cow elk, which Branson took a couple shots at. However, we know not where it went. As the light faded, we headed toward the setting sun, clambering carefully down the steep and slippery snow-covered mountain. We then met up at the bottom near the main road, and the whole group made it back safe for the night, particularly dehydrated from walking around like marshmallows. We recouped ourselves, both mentally and physically, then drove back to town for the night, with the hope to gather up the fallen elk from the frozen forest in the morn. Well, that'd be all for the day. December 2nd, 2015, a Wednesday. So the day started off with arising to the sounds of the family within the home, beginning to stir. Breakfast was set out, and as we prepared ourselves for the mountain, both with proper clothing and nourishment also, the day's hunt began a little bit more late in the day than the previous day. The sun that shines above had already risen, and the heat was beginning to warm the earth. We loaded ourselves up into the vehicle and began the journey up the mountain. First, we met up with a new friend, Max, who had 2 horses with him to help us carry the elk off the mountain. After getting the trailer and the horses ready, we were once again on our way, when we met up with Curtis and Buzz. The group now consisted of my dad, Curtis, Josephat, Branson, and Buzz, along with myself. When we arrived at the bottom of the mountain, got our gear on, we were all excited to hike the mountain for the day. Well, some were still pretty exhausted from the previous day's hike. The group initially split off. While Curtis, Josephat, Branson, and Buzz went up the major canyon or ravine, my dad, Max, along with myself, took a different route with the 2 horses we had. The hike was again totally arduous, and even though the weather outside was nearly freezing, actually below the freezing temperature, hiking up the mountain with all that gear really gets you sweating and hot, so it is key that you layer your clothing properly so that you can shed it when needed. Yet have it accessible for when you reach the top. We finally reached the peak of the mountain, and as the terrain leveled out and the hike subsided, the body temperature begins to drop and it is cold once more. We followed a blood trail for quite some time, coming to the place where then the elk had fallen and had been cleaned out by my dad. We loaded up the elk meat, which we wanted for later eating, which consists of the cuts, backstraps, tenderloins, front and hind quarters, After making all the proper cuts, which was done, we loaded the animals back onto our horses and headed down the mountain. The light had now faded, and our bodies were weary. And as we departed, trudging into the deep snow, an eerie laughter could be heard in the distance. Coyotes, a large group, was trailing us and our kills. The noises of the wild animal pack was encircling us, as if we were being corralled towards some unknown planned ambush. The group was tense, yet somehow the noises of these wild animals, who were going to clean up the leftovers from our kill, added to the beauty and ambiance of the scene. The cackles of the coyotes, almost like the howls of wolves, calls from deer or elk, and music birds, among the other creatures with nature's scenery, truly creates the most wondrous soundtrack and picture. The physician who wasn't. A word, a prayer, spoken, prompted, acted toward another, through one's own action and physical expression, seen through the eyes of another, can be words, actions of peace, of comfort, and of healing. This is the task of the physician who isn't. For the world may grant a man the title, but for many of the greatest physicians, the title was never given. The gift of these ones is then knowing the correct words to speak, the correct actions to take, and the correct example to show. For all things done can inspire change in the one whom is afflicted, and if the correct change is prompted and acted upon, the physician who never was has done what many a physician couldn't. For a physician has tools, and his tools can be many, that of physical means, and those of the spirit of the eternal voice, traveling through the wind. For the best physicians aren't, for they profit not on the affliction of others, yet in times of those whom are afflicted, can shine light on dark places, for whom the sun can inspire mighty change. The 2 walls of change. One can say the walls of change, as one may say the walls of growth. For there are 2 mountains one must climb or attempt to move for an individual to do so. This being now parabolically described, the 2 walls, or mountains as it were, is first, the individual of one's self. For on one to change, or for one to grow, and one must first have a concept of what to grow into, and the actions to achieve the goal must change for the individual. So the first wall to break down is one's own wall of what one can do, what one will do, and what one does. The second wall is the wall of individuals outside of yourself, whom have seen you, know you, and want you to be a certain way. In this, the knowledge comes. To change yourself, you must change others, or more specifically, how others see you. For how others have known you, or want you to be, they will treat you. And in treating you a certain way, it makes you the way they treat you. In this, you must change how others treat you. In these ideals are the truths of change and growth for one. A deadly flower. Petals drawn tight, not a thorn to be found, yet death lingers just beyond. Bright colors, beautiful to design. Voice soothes the soul, drawing me close, for sweet nectar beyond taste. A nectar so cold hath frozen heart, body follows form, one resists departure. A dark comfort, sad beyond measure. Yet comfort dissipates pain, and comfort in the dark, comfort in the mist, is heart welcome, for the soul to rest, to find no more. For beauty hath taken mine, and a love for beauty hath taken my love for life. For life has become beauty, and a beautiful death will be my end to life. An artist's death, beautiful to behold, yet sad beyond measure. I thank thee for this beauty. I thank thee for this heart. I thank thee for thine soul. I thank thee for this life. This is while I was in Japan. And I copied that off of something in the room. I have no idea what it means. The description of my current hotel room. So currently we are in Fukuoka, Japan, a southern part of the country. The air here is quite humid, and I have yet to see the sun since our arrival. It has been fairly overcast, cloudy, misty since our arrival. The air is warm, however. I saw a volcano, I think, as we were flying from Narita, Tokyo to Fukuoka. From through the clouds it looked quite dark, bubbly red. That being said, it was either some active volcano or just a high-rise building, through the cloud ceiling glowing red lights. Now onto the room. The hotel we are in is called the Green Hotel Annex, one of I think 4 green hotels in the area. The room is quite small, however it has much within it, and it is arranged in a manner to take up as least room for amenities as seems fit. There is a television, a miniature fridge with complimentary water, personal thermostat, air purifier, desk with travel information, telephone, outlets, which work with a few of my American devices, lights and lamps, a bed, miniature closet, and a bathroom with a couple complimentary hygienic items. A toilet that has to be one of the highest technological toilets I have ever seen or used. A shower bath, which is a hybrid, with complimentary hygienic cleansing supplies as well. Mirrors, a window to the outside, but it doesn't open too far. Trash can, Kleenexes, etc. Well, that pretty much sums the bit of it up. August 22nd, 2015. Well, the place had high stone walls. Seemed to be similar to like giant stone-cut squares, stacked perfectly on top of each other, surrounding the entirety of the palace lands, Edo Castle. Totally opposing, though, to the concrete jungle we had just left, which was Tokyo City. Instead of extremely tall metallic structure full of glass, concrete, and steel, this place had immense trees all throughout, beautiful to the sight, some trained like bonsai. A giant moat surrounding the entrance, filled with water that was such a dark, deep green, which held many fish, and I saw some swans. Yet if the life within the water was to dive only a few feet beneath the surface, the life within would disappear. Well, walking up and through the walls, there were a few buildings that were previously samurai guard posts. You walked beyond those, and at the top is an immense garden, full of many, many trees that had fruits bearing, that were ripe on this date, and most trees had a nameplate bearing, I would think, the scientific name in Latin. We walked around the grounds, climbed to some high points, saw many people, a few birds, and some insects like butterflies. There are hidden halls. There are kingdoms, and there are mansions. Many make their voice known and demand to rule the lands. Yet, there are lands unseen, unheard, castles and palaces that lie dormant beneath the surface. One may stumble upon such an abode, or be found themselves and invited within. They seek not to make themselves known across the land, and from outside may seem small and full of nothing, but once within, vast amounts of space is beheld, beautiful gardens full of wondrous fruits, riches beyond measure, sights and smells to make the knee bend in its wonder and glory, architecture to cause one to weep at the hard work done by man, which fits balanced within the scene that is beauty of Mother Nature. Yet these castles lay silent, unspoken, yet you cannot find them when looking for them. And once one leaves after gaining entrance, the pathway back fades, as a dream while laying in a field full of clouds. Secrets beyond mention, wisdom and knowledge under lock and key, only bestowed upon those whom chose to stay, held captive by enchantment. Hidden halls where I've been, and many more to go. The beauty that is life, the beauty that is the world. May I be welcomed in all such places, and have to give that which is wanted, that which is needed. Thursday, September 3rd, 2015. Roses by the dozen. A scarlet hue, feigned red, stained, tinted, as with the blood of many fallen hearts, yet beautiful when the light passes through, like that of a stained glass window, portraying figures of solemn repentance, asking for forgiveness, forgiveness of multitudes of sin, flowers in the dark, yet in the dark with thorns, full of lust, full of pleasure, full of pity, full of pain, sweet songs and sirens, drawing the hearts of many men into the depths of their tone. Warriors fall before them, for they are in fact warriors, warriors in search of a man's heart, and in search of the golden tone to unlock the tear, the love, contained even within a warrior of stone and iron. Yet those of the rose will give thee rest, protect their own, and if you fall for them, they will remove thorns from your passage. And then your fall will be into a fall upon a bed of roses, sweet to the nose, yet not overbearingly sweet like flowers, akin, soft to lay upon petal, keeps one cool in the sun, and warm on winter's eve. I saw roses. Art is like the expression of a mathematical function without the math. Is life merely the expression of a divine light, merely reimagining itself over and over again, merely to gain the sensation that is life itself? If I knew the answer to this, would the experience itself be over then? And then would I start all over again, reimagining it once more? June 16th, 2016. The shade beneath 2 trees feels good, as I take a moment to rest sitting on some nice cool grass. A few birds singing in the background, a cricket chirps here and there, cars stream by, running on a road near my current location. The breeze feels good as it passes over my once hot skin now cooled. A lapse in automobile noise allows nature to be heard. It's nice here, but time to move. I have places I'd like to go. Saturday, 5/23/15. Today I woke up to the sound of the Walker family preparing for the day. I felt well rested and have been sleeping well, even though I have been sleeping every night merely on a couch. Aunt Trina made waffles this morning, which was really good, and after which Christopher and I played some games and went to the Cheyenne Mall. We checked out the Apple Store, furniture store, PacSun, Zoomies, etc. After that, John took Tiffany, Christopher, and me to Rodizio Grill. The food and service was really good. After that, Christopher and I played some more games. He showed me a bunch of characters and avatars for various games that he plays or has played. John has also been showing me a bunch of pictures from RJ fishing in Costa Rica. A creation story. In the beginning, all was with God, and all was God, for nothing was without God that wasn't within God. This, however, for God became very dull and very boring to say the least. So God separated himself from himself to create beings truly other than God and outside of God. He gave them means of self-defense to, in actuality, defend themselves from God, their creator. Now that beings outside of God and independent of God truly were, many pathways of life arose due to the free will that God had given his children. To have the same name but a different story is to be different. To have the same story but a different name is still to be more similar than the first, but still different, because name is part of the story. To have the same name and the same story is to be one and the same. A hero's hero. Every hero needs a hero, just as sure as light makes day. Every hero needs a hero, I can see no other way. Through darkest storm, through deepest plight. June 15th, 2016. At the moment, an odd scene plays itself before me, so I found a location to write a picture on it, which happened to be a vacant patch of grass in front of Layton City Park. The mountains themselves are covered in some sort of foggy gray mist, being the most part totally obscured. Yet just above and surrounding myself It is a clear blue sky with scattered white clouds, yet fading. In the distance behind me, clear sky, the sunset casting bright rays upon the clouds there. It's as if the mountains harbor a storm, yet the valley is in peace. May 20th, 2016. There once was a group of wild horses, called the silver or still gray stallions. They lived in a place called the dry lands, where it never rained, and it was forbidden to bathe in the waters that flowed through the lands themselves. Then one day, a group of the still gray horses decided to push the limit as to where they had traveled to in days past. The dry lands themselves were surrounded by a large mountain range that bordered the entire premises. One day, on this very same day, one of the horses was dared to go up and cross over the mountaintops. So he didn't want to be chicken, so he did, and then it started raining and storming all over him. He had never felt rain before, and knew not what this phenomenon was, as he then grabbed a plant foreign to the land of the dry lands as proof that he had done so, and came back. When he had returned, the other horses were in awe, for the horse had changed colors from a steel gray to a rusty red. Poetry and math. Divide, use all your wit, leave charm aside, and do your best, the order preside. Operations, that is, will be your biz. Numerical and alphabetronic, welding, collision regulation. Leave the pauses aside, not a tick to be found, only those next attack. So go on and take your daily dose of mathematic-tax. We are smooth here as can be. Algebra, calculus, even some geometry. You don't leave out the stats, chaos and control. Once you become a master, you'll be statmorifical, still undefeated. The good fruit. Good fruit is soft, it is sweet, it is not thorny or hard, it fights not, and is therefore weak. Which is why there must needs be those to fight for the good fruit, to protect the good fruit, so the weeds doth not surround the good fruit and choke it out from the sun, and take its nourishment and water. There must needs be those that are both strong and pure. For some weeds are strong and create thorns to protect themselves, yet all good things which protect the good fruits are stronger. Inside control. Beyond the innermost, be small, be infantile, be so small nothing can enter into you. For if nothing can enter into you, nothing can control you from the inside. Your vehicle is free from anyone within, and therefore, you are the only one on the inside, and it is you that are in control. If your ego becomes large, there is much space, and wide holes for someone to enter, and they will try to force their entrance, to gain control of you. Be single, without another, and be small, so that none can fit, and none can enter, and beyond the most inside, that you are within all else, and nothing is within you. But you are within all things, and by you being within, you gain control from within. Yet seek not to control others. Respect others, that you may not grow big through achievement. Humble yourself, be small, be fluid, be at one. Now that you are at one, let all good things in. Do good and listen, and do the work of all good things. All the blood in you. All the blood within you is all you'll ever have. All the blood within you, make sure 'twill not go bad. For ancestors' part has been done, now your part has begun. For now that all the blood within you is all you'll ever have, it's up to you to decide who's who. For where blood goes, nobody knows but you. To catch the spirit is to feel the message, and to expound upon a short, simple truth through broad and complex application. One of the worst times in my life I can ever recall in relation to lack of sleep and not being able to fall asleep was after watching the movie Titanic for the first time. It was at my grandmother's house in Vernal, Utah. The setting is very rememberable and nostalgic to me. The smell of my grandfather's pipe, the smell of the furniture in the room, the TV's position, and me being able to lay comfortably on the floor watching the movie. Up to that point in time, I had never watched a movie continuously that was that long. I do recall the exact scenario with clarity. And the version I watched was the 2-part VHS version, where you had 2 separate VHSs, because the movie was so long. Now, the reason after watching this movie I couldn't sleep was because the main character dies in the end of the movie after falling asleep. The girl that Leonardo DiCaprio wooed. And so, for a time after watching that movie, I felt as though I never wanted to go to sleep because I felt like I would pass away. Freaked me out, dude. Wild, but not bad. For if a thing be wild but harmless, is it bad? There is of course a line so fine, for in the act of the thing being wild, it states it does not respect the boundaries, the rules, which others have placed in their space. Yet who's to say whose space is whose? For the wild thing states the space is God's, not man's, and is free to roam over all space, regardless of wall, of fence, or of sign, or of sea. Broken song. A song mixed, seeing all good notes, in songs for all nations. A high note here, a drum, a flute, low bass horns, the noise, it shouts. Into my soul the song of life. Preserve all nations, let none show strife. A broken tone of mixed blood I am, for I see good in all the plan. From nation to nation, from sea to sea, I see good in each, so may you see good in me. A broken tune I am to be, for nations mixed, bad blood you see, impure progress, a disaster's stroke, mixed nations make me feel so choked. They gave me mountains, I climbed, they gave me the ocean, I dove, they gave me the arts, I drew, they gave me space, I flew, they gave me time, I killed, they gave me life, I lived, they gave me death, I died. Good night. A soldier in peace. I was raised innocent, pure, sensitive, tastes were clean. If it wasn't a pure flavor, I spit it out. I cared not for the noise, nor for the music. The only noise and music I needed, or not even really needed, but wanted, was the voices of those I loved, and the beautiful sound of true, unreplicated nature around me. The birds, the bugs, the wild game, they were my soundtrack. I had no watch, I did not need to tell time. The sun was up, or it was down. Night was for sleeping, for dreaming. Day was for interacting, for playing. I then grew. I was exposed. Many new tastes, many new sounds. Some I despised before, I now enjoyed. I now longed for things that would have hurt my fragile soul before. I grew strong, I grew tolerant. I was bound by time, always in a hurry. I needed to be here at exactly a certain time, or I would miss it, miss my opportunity. I was drafted, I was strong, I defeated every enemy in my path. I had comrades, bullets no longer fazed me, they tickled. I fought for a time, I took commands for a time. Then, a stroke of the purity I once knew, the sensitivity I once was, the bullets, the bombs, they wouldn't cease. The silence of it all now, it was killing me. I was always on guard. Who was after me next? Who was going to strap me up? Who was going to challenge my beliefs, my views, my mind? The door would open, I would jump and turn, jump right out of my skin. Was a bomb about to go off? Was a shot about to be fired? Did I need to run? Did I need to hide? Should I attack? If I attack, will I merely need to run more? I chose not to attack. I could have, and I was strong. They were weak. I could have won, but I surrendered. I could climb any fence, any mountain, any ravine. I could jump. No sign could stop me, but I surrendered. I surrendered to the signs, to the fighting. I will do the will of the people. Strapped up, can't move, straitjacket. If I don't comply, I get shot, put me to sleep, killed. I promise I'm harmless, let me free. I won't harm and won. Doesn't matter, forced down, stripped bare. I was shot, I was put to sleep. I tried to cry, but I couldn't. I had no more tears. The peace, it now haunts me. The silence, it is overbearing. Can I reach the purity I once had as a child? Can I regain my innocence, my sensitivity? On being drawn. To draw is similar to being sketched, where a certain concept is then caught to portray an image on a platform, which is your canvas. A dual relationship then presents itself on that being drawn and the one doing the drawing. To successfully draw something, one must entice it, and to entice it, one must understand it. The amount of difficulty it takes to draw something depends on both the will of the artist and the object in portrayal. For the will of the final product to be may have a will of its own. Then, therefore, a sort of tug-of-war presents itself with that being sculpted, painted, and figured out, with the one doing the sculpting, the painting, the analyzation. If one pulls too hard, the object to be has no weight, if no resistance is felt. To then truly capture that which one seeks, as much interest must be had from the one doing the writing on that which he is writing, as the writing has on the one doing the writing. Too much interest, and you may be lost in the moment. Yet is this bad? Only if you have somewhere to be, in which case are you not being drawn. On closing, July 22nd, 2016. A business no longer gaining what was earned is in jeopardy of being lost, and the business in question is on the verge of losing. A separation with a C is used timely with fashion to slow the loss, with hopes of no loss, yet to be closed also restricts gain, to then be reopened with hopes of future gain for the time being. With fingers crossed and loss prevention in place, the business will resume once more and do well, regulating its closures and openings effectively, that what's gained may be used and enjoyed, giving then controlled loss, where the thing lost provides some sort of enjoyable gain, for now or later. For a successful business, understanding and applying these principles, every loss is then a win, where you will learn to love to lose, due to the sheer satisfaction gained from that which was spent. In this, you will never close for good. On the shore. To be sure is to be sound. A sailor at sea notices the shore. Beyond what is the shoreline rests stable ground, where one can be assured and feel insured that the foundation they now find themselves upon is concrete, stable, and degradable, due only to the very long depths of time. The shoreline being a sort of gray area, or middle ground, so to speak, in concern to the topic in question, changing with the give and take of the tide. Is there proof? If so, how much? Breach the banks and cross the threshold, finding yourself on the beach, and beyond rests land, where you can rest assured, within the know. On the atmosphere, a planet, a world surrounded by a barrier in disguise, carried through the air. What is carried through the air? Defining the atmosphere. One must go through and be able to stand within for viable action to be done on said planet. A plane being a state, a plan being a set of instructions, carried out, creating then the said planet. Orbited by what? Giving then an ambiance of what? Being atmosphere. On the air, a word so enchanting when written, it almost seems to be spelled wrong upon viewing it, when it isn't. The quality of the air determined by its content, though some say it is a fool who opens his ear to the wind, as if it speaks. To those who know what to listen for, the health of the air can be accurately gauged, giving then a breath of fresh air. Just because you can stand the air doesn't mean you should. On the currency, a trade, a transfer, a handoff of what? Well, what is current? What is up to date? What is good on today's date? Is it always good? What is desired? The electricians build a circuit to which even they are ignorant of, for they see particles but are unaware that they build a circuit based on pop culture. Supply and demand, restricting and resisting the flow of goods on a micro scale, managing the give and get, stock restriction, scarcity creating want, controlled scarcity causing rarity, supplying demand. A river running current flows smooth, blocked and dammed. A lake is formed, controlled, is fresh, dead end, becomes salt, the earth's veins and arteries supplying her current, nature's highways on a different scale. Electricity is natural. On your business. Business, a word denoting action of an extended nature, possibly repetitive in function and form and task. What do you do with your time? Is your business one of production or of reproduction, of entertainment, of enjoyment? To have a successful business is to then have enjoyable action. To those who find themselves in your company, you will find investors, possibly competitors, feeding your business or trying to outdo your business. To then therefore find yourself in another's business is to find yourself in an environment bound and containing certain action. Does then your business constructively add to that of the business of the company, of the surrounding action that you find yourself in? Or is it of a deconstructive nature, in opposition to what is going on? Can you add to, yet in a unique way, in a way that still accomplishes the task at hand for the group you find yourself in, yet in a way that is not completely mainstream, yet doesn't detract? If so, you have found individuality within the whole. To then have good business, be good yourself, which is to have desirable action, which is to spend your time doing and investing in things others would like to invest in, then investing in you. Do you ride the wave or create it? Is the wave you create one others would like to ride? Monday, December 16th, 2013. I woke up this morning at about 7:30 a.m. I laid in bed for a while, then wrote my dream journal. (10 16 2016). A very cool air surrounds the sky, a light gray color, enveloped with clouds, looking more clear near the capital. A light rain begins to fall, dotting the page I write upon. I am comfortable with it though, for I am dressed appropriately, so the cold air feels nice as I breathe in and out. January 4th, 2016. To be roaming. What does it mean to be roaming? To be wandering? To be on a walkabout? Truly, it is to be lost, yet lost on purpose. Intentional misdirection and renunciation of measurements in accordance with time and distance. To be in search of nothing, yet aware of everything. Pure experience of what is merely felt, was seen, what is heard, the smells, to process this information without analysis and speculation as to what it is, without question or wondering, is to be wandering, is to be roaming. 4/8/18. It was as if an inner sun had been born within his soul and was now radiating throughout his body. In no way was it spurring him toward action, but every action would have been done in comfort if he had decided to do anything. Like the edges around him had somehow been softened. He felt smooth, made perfect, having been sanded down with the finest sandpaper. When the night came, you would have never have realized it was day that had just departed. Somehow, sensation was upon him, now in recollection, beyond his observance when it had happened. But it was quite queer that not feeling had a feeling, and he liked the feel of it.